There we go.
There we are. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and potential Toastmasters. Welcome to Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am the District 115 Club Growth Director, Ken Richardson. And I know that you were probably expecting today to see a pair of Jeans, Gene Williams and Gene Dunford. They were otherwise unavailable because of some Wi-Fi issues, and we are covering for them this morning, and we have a great program with my co-host, distinguished Toastmaster, past District Governor Phyllis Tribby, and we're going to talk about the role of the Chief Judge in contests. Good morning, Phyllis. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Ken, and good morning to our public. How are you doing today? I'm just great.
Very good. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I know today is a holiday, and we certainly want to acknowledge and recognize Martin Luther King Day. I used to always go to the parade. I have to confess I haven't been for several years now, but I loved going to that parade, even though it was a bit brisk this, early in the morning when I'd get over there to find a good spot. But I don't think I'm going to make it this morning. So we do want to say happy Martin Luther King Day. We appreciate the contributions of Dr. King, and we're going to dedicate this program today in his honor. And the program today I'm really excited about. This is something you and I have been talking about for a couple of weeks now, because we do have contest season coming up. In fact, the first area contest is March 5th. That's going to be Division D. There are 3 areas that have combined for that contest. And it's been a while since we have had an in-person contest. You may recall, Phyllis, that back in July, the District Council voted to have in-person contests this year. So this is the first time we're sort of back in person, and it is different from, being online. But one of the most important roles, and the role we're going to talk about today, is the Chief Judge. So I guess I want to start, Phyllis, by asking you, what sort of qualifications do you think you should have before you move into that role?
Well, the role of the Chief Judge, and I have held that 9 times for the district, both here in Las Vegas and in District 33. And I believe knowledge and willingness to learn. You don't have to have done this before if you're willing to learn what it takes. And that's the thing. But you mentioned dedicating this show to Martin Luther King. The thing of it is, to Dr. King, it's integrity. And what better thing could we say about him other than he had integrity? So judging belongs to integrity. And one of the things that I'll talk about today is kind of like the judge's duties. What are the duties of the Chief Judge? And how to give a great judging briefing. And many things that people don't understand is vote counting and when to use a tiebreaker ballot, and also conduct a protest. I have been in meetings with people that have been chief judges and they didn't know anything about protest.
Wow.
Here in District 115, as has always been in the Las Vegas or the Valley here, we always have one chief judge per division who actually is somebody that's informed and will cover not only the division, but all of the area contest.
And you don't have to be a DTM for that, right?
Right. No,
there's no specific stated requirements, as I can recall.
Yeah, the requirements are about the same. A member in good standing of a club in good standing, been a member for 6 months. It's the same qualifications there are for a judge.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but say in District 33, each area can elect their own chief judge. So you get people that have not got all of the knowledge and need to go to some training to figure out what's going on and be sure that they handle everything correctly. And one of the first things I tell them is print a rule book and carry it with you. Be knowledgeable. Be sure that if questions are brought up, usually in an area, sometimes a division, everything runs very smoothly. But there are things that will be noticed at the district level that were not handled previously. There are many people that do not want to lodge a protest, do not know how to lodge a protest, and consequently, contestants continue on up to the district. And that's when we call a halt. We have to, be sure that everybody is eligible and that they have originality.
Well, what sort of, is that the criteria for lodging a protest, originality and eligibility?
Actually, on a protest, we can lodge a protest, the voting judges, not the chief judge, voting judges only, or contestants, only those two people. So if you're sitting in the audience and you hear something you've heard so many times, there's nothing you can do about it. You should have volunteered to be a judge. But a protest has to be lodged before the winners are announced by either the voting judges or the contestants.
Gotcha.
So if we want to go on, I have a small, that's not really small. That was the wrong word for it. I put together a PowerPoint, your favorite.
My favorite.
Yeah, for this last presentation that I gave, and I'm going to go into some of the things that happen as a chief judge, and we're going to kind of dissect them in our today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and go over some of the things that you should know about as a chief judge. And
okay,
as a chief judge, it doesn't matter whether you're a chief, a voting judge, a contestant, or just a participant sitting in the audience. The more you know about what's going on with contests and how they're working and why certain things happen, the more you'll get along. You'll have a better time because you'll have the understanding.
Okay, well, I just made you co-host, so you should have the ability to share your screen with your PowerPoint whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to do that now, or there we go.
Yep, I'm bringing it up.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Oh, I love this. Great.
Okay, so I can go to the slideshow. Okay. And let me see. Let's at the beginning. I'm going to start here because I don't know how else to do it. There
okay, you go. You're doing great.
Okay, so know that if you've been appointed, which you have been, as a chief judge, that you're an intricate part of a smooth operation. If you do everything well, that relieves the area director or division director to worry about other things other than how the contest is going to be run. You want to always be prepared. It's like know your functionaries. Who can you go to get information from? Who's going to be taking care of the various things? If you're having an evaluation contest, of course, you want to know where the room was. So you have to know who the sergeant at arms is. And do they understand how the contest runs for evaluation? You want to be checking out the eligibility for your judges and for your contestants. The chief judge is actually responsible for having the contestant certification of eligibility before the contest can begin. And early on, you should know who all of the contestants are and who to get that paperwork from so that you can check to be sure that they are really eligible. Sometimes in the lower contests, like the area, judges will be appointed by the area director. So know who they have set aside to be your judges so that you can contact them about the briefing time and send them a copy of the rules. Now, this sounds really great, doesn't it? We're going to know all these people ahead of time. Well, I can tell you right now, it doesn't work that way other than at the district. At the district, we know who all the contestants are. Then we can pick, the chief judge picks who the judges are going to be, fulfilling all the rules about whether or not they can be a judge. But at an area contest, sometimes you find that the only two people that show up at the area contest are the two contestants. And so you have to go around and find judges. And how many judges are required? 5. You should be 5 judges that are equally distributed throughout the area or the division. At the area, anybody is practically fair game. I always tell people it's do your best to find people that will be unbiased, that will do a good job that you've seen judge before. We're not always as committed to finding the people that work well. You've got to find people that are willing. But when you get to the division, then the judge cannot be in a club with a person that is competing. Gotcha. It's a very strong rule, and we'll get to that later on when we talk about judging. Anytime you want questions, I've got plenty of answers.
Well, I love that, and I'm just, I really, you know me, I love PowerPoint. We don't have any questions. Let's see. Here's a question from Carol. Can judges in an area contest also be contestants in the same contest in another area? So if I'm reading that right, the question is, let's say that I am a judge in area A1, but I'm a contestant in area A2 in the same contest. Is that allowed?
Yeah, we will get to that. But the thing of it is that you cannot be a judge if you are still competing in the same. And when we say the same, we mean international to international, humorous to humorous. Now, if you're in the international contest, absolutely you can judge in the humorous. But if you are still competing in the international, you cannot judge in the humorous.
Okay, I'm going to respond.
Make sense?
It does, yes.
Okay. So as I say, with a chief judge, you always want to be prepared and double check before you leave for a contest. Do you have everything you're going to need? Do you have the contestant eligibility forms? Are they completed? Are you going to have to run around at the contest and find the contestants to complete that form? Do you have judges' eligibility forms? This eligibility form is also called Code of Ethics. And we definitely will be talking about that. Let me ask you a question there
on that Code of Ethics. And in the rule book, it talks about, as I recall, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it talks about the fact that you cannot compete in the same contest and be a judge, but you can in others. So if people are uncertain, they should refer to that, the ethics statement or to the rule book, correct?
Right. Okay. As I say, they get confused by it's a same contest. So they're thinking about the time of the contest. Like today we're having it and I'm competing in international, so I can't judge anything today because I'm still competing. Gotcha. It's not the time of the contest, it's the same contest. So a contestant in the international is not in the same contest as humor
Gotcha.
or evaluation.
Evaluation.
Mhm. As a
Wonderful.
matter of fact, I have found that even at the district level, the contestant that was in the evening contest was in so many clubs. Nobody was at the conference that could judge her other than the afternoon contestant for the humor. So
Wow.
I had to go and beg him to be a judge for their division because there just wasn't anybody. She was in so many clubs.
But the fact that he was not in the same contest, he wasn't also in evaluation, he was in international, that made him okay as a judge.
Right, right.
Very good.
He wasn't in any clubs with her. Was the only person from their division that was not in a club with her. So
Excellent. That's good. I can see
really-
how that could be so confusing, but I think you've explained it very well. And thank you,
I
Carol, for
think
your
that's
question.
it. We get to thinking about the venue and the conference as the contest.
Right.
And actually the contest is humor contest, evaluation contest, international contest.
Yeah, that's the meaning in the sense of this requirement. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at the venue or the time, a place, rather than at the actual wording contest. Okay.
Very
So,
good.
To be prepared, and it's very true, you must leave the house with everything in hand. And this is something that I double check, sometimes I even triple check. I have it all set out the night before, and I still look at it again, because there's nothing worse than getting to a contest and you don't have all of the forms that you need, like the timer sheet, the vote counters tally, the ballots. I think we've all been judges. If you haven't, most judges like to get a folder or pocket folder and put in the ballots, envelopes to put your ballot in, blank pieces of paper. And I have even occasionally seen someone that put in a full copy of the rule book.
Oh, wow.
This is a little bit more printing than I want to do. But as I say, if I know who my judges are ahead of time, I do send them a copy of the rule book.
Let me ask you a question about that,
Uh-huh.
particularly when it comes to ballots that you're distributing to your judges. If you have a combined contest, let's say you have two areas together, then you have to have ballots and envelopes for both areas. Is that correct?
That is true. Yes.
Okay.
So in our case, we're just doing two contests this time. So we would have to have a ballot for the evaluation, I think it's this time, and a ballot for the international for each and every area. So if we're going to have 3 area contests together, then we need 3 of each ballot.
Got you.
Over in District 33, if any of my friends are watching from there, they're doing a 3rd contest this time. So
Really?
that's another ballot for each area that's combined.
That's
So,
interesting. What
yeah.
3 contests? I know they're doing international. What other 2 contests are they doing?
I believe they are doing humor or I'm not sure. The 3rd one is a humorist in Spanish, a Spanish humorist.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't really go over it that much, but I know that they're doing 3. So it should be interesting.
Awesome.
Notification of winners, pins, and extras of all, make that all blank paperwork. You can't imagine how many times people forget to bring the ballot to the evening contest. In fact, at one of our district conferences, I had 4 people come up and ask me for another ballot. So 1 is not enough. bring extras. And I even have to go over the fact that when you can ask the chief judge for a ballot. I had one judge, after the contestant had started speaking, left her seat and came and asked me for a ballot.
Oh.
I was livid and had to keep my mouth shut.
You know, that just points to the importance of doing a very thorough briefing of your judges, and even things that you and I might think are self-evident may not be. They may require some explanation, and you need to review them. That's a good point, Phyllis. I'm glad you shared that experience.
And say, it never occurred to me that someone wouldn't know when they were supposed to not leave their seats. Because you could write a note on a napkin or a piece of paper or tablecloth if you have to. And then as soon as the minute of silence come up, then come and ask me for a ballot.
Okay, so you can have them just make their notes on a blank piece of paper, and then at the minute of silence after each contestant, they can get to the chief judge for a blank ballot. Very good. Okay, well that gives them.
It's not recommended during the minute of silence that people move, but you are allowed to go out like to the bathroom. You can't come until the next minute of silence. So if something goes wrong and the contest begins, wait until the minute of silence to come to the chief judge and get additional paperwork. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, if you will, before we leave that slide. I know we've been on it for a while, but I noticed on there, you did talk about the tiebreaker. Do you have that coming up, or do you want to talk about it at this point?
Actually, I will talk about the tiebreaker ballot when we go into counting the ballots.
Okay, very good.
Is that
oh, that's sense? Fine. Yes, I know that makes sense.
This is just things that you got to have in hand before you leave the house. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Not necessarily how to do any of them.
Okay, fair enough.
So what I always tell people is, as soon as you get to the contest, start doing your briefings. Whoever you can find that you can do briefings with, get that done. Get all your briefings done as soon as possible. I found it's sad but true. You'll find some people show up very early and you can get things done, and the others show up 5 minutes before the contest is to start. So that's another thing. If you know who your functionaries are going to be, you can contact them to be sure that they're there early so you can do your briefing. So we have 2 timers. We check the lights. We have a stopwatch. Review the time for each contest, which is on the timer sheet. Just point it out to them so they understand where the all the lighting is supposed to be displayed. That the red light should always remain on until the speech is completed.
I'm sorry. Let me interject here. We do have another question from one of our viewers, Carol again. She says, please discuss the ethics statement, specifically the prohibition on discrimination. How do you explain the non-discrimination requirements? Did you hear all that?
I did.
Okay. Do you want to address that now?
We will.
Okay.
As say that the red light remains on until the speech is completed, that one uses the light and there are no cards. Now, this is one thing that people I have a hard time getting my timers to understand. They think if something goes wrong with the lights, they immediately switch to the cards. So if they've given the green light and something goes wrong with the lighting equipment, then they can use the yellow card to display. And that is not true. according to the rule book, if something goes wrong with the lighting equipment, 30 extra seconds is given to that speaker. There are no more timing equipment times used by the timers. They're not to put up anything. If the lights go out, then the contestant has an extra 30 seconds, which means that if it's a 5 to 7 minute speech, they get 30 seconds anyway, which would be 7:30. And if they speak to 7:40, they still qualify because the lights have broken. Now, during the minute of silence, yes, I would try and get that lighting thing fixed. If it isn't fixed, then I would go to cards. But we do not mix lights and cards at the same time.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the things that people get confused with.
Well, I think that's very good to talk about because I didn't know that. I've never run into that situation. So thank you for that explanation.
Yeah. And, timing is really important. I had one district contest that I had 3 people go over time. And you would think that by the time they got to the district, they would know exactly how long their time was going to be. And they would have got a free trip to, where was it? Malaysia? Yeah, that was, yeah. So I thought that was very, I thought, if I'd have been doing that, I think I'd have stopped when the red light comes on. A free trip is a free trip.
Yeah, that was Kuala Lumpur, I think, was that year in Malaya. Yeah, that's wonderful. Let me interject here. There's a follow-up question here that I want to make sure that we don't forget about. Has Toastmasters added sexual orientation and gender identity to the prohibition of bias? I think that's a really terrific question because that statement and that non-discrimination clause, I think, is a very important addition to all that we do to ensure that we increase awareness and that we make sure that prohibition is clear. Do you want to wait on that, or I just don't want us to lose? I don't want us to lose this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because we're going to be getting to the judge's briefing.
All righty.
Do we have enough time? I don't even know how time is going here.
Well, we are really almost out. But yeah, we're at 6:27. So we can find a convenient time to wrap this up. But I would, because we're going to continue this tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're going to continue on. But if you don't mind, let's address these questions while they're in front of mine, and then we'll wrap up the show. Would that be okay with you? And we'll continue tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like we will be, going over what a good judge's briefing includes. And that is one of the things that a good judge's briefing includes. I always tell people that the judge's certification of eligibility and code of ethics is like a signed contract. You have signed your name to guarantee that you will be unbiased, that you will judge on the contest as you hear it today. Today's speech, not what you think people can do, not what you've heard them do. Sometimes bias goes to, like you say, discrimination. No, it's what you're hearing at this contest today. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter that this contestant has competed so many times that they really need a win, or this contestant is a winner all the time. I'm just sick and tired of this person winning. No, it's just on the speech judged against the criteria of what you hear today. No discrimination, no bias in political thing that says something about political beliefs. No, it's just the speech, not the person.
So in explaining that as a chief judge, when you talk about racial, sexual identity, political, How is all of that covered? Are there specific statements on the form, or is that something, okay, so there are specific statements on
Yes,
the form, and
yes.
maybe we
The
can,
form has
okay.
a code of ethics that's, it's like age, sex, race, creed, national origin, disability, profession, or political beliefs.
Okay, so it doesn't say specifically sexual identity or sexual orientation. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly, no.
Okay, so I think that's a good point brought up by one of our viewers, Carol, that chief judges need to think about. I am aware, because I've followed certain changes in state law, that prohibitions on discrimination have included those statements in state law about sexual orientation and sexual identity. And I think as we are an inclusive organization, it's important for us to make sure that we do talk about that. We are way over time here. Well, not way over, we're at 6:31, but let me ask you to stop sharing for a moment, and we'll go over some things real quickly and then resume this. Thank you, Phyllis. This is a great introduction and start a program on what the responsibilities of the chief judge are. I think we've planned for a couple of days and maybe a third day. So we're going to review this. We're going to continue on tomorrow, maybe do a brief review of today, and then go on through your presentation. And if we need Thursday to do it as well to finish up, we will certainly do that, because I think this is vitally important, and it's something that I think doesn't come up enough because of just having it once a year. Now let me read, there's one last comment I want to share with you. Carol says, thank you very much for hosting this and asking about sexual orientation and gender identity. As a leader of an LGBTTM club, I know some LGBT people and allies will not compete in international speech contests until those protections are added. So I really appreciate Carol for bringing those up those issues, and I'm glad we had an opportunity to discuss them. Now, I want to remind everyone that we will be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. and we will continue our discussion of the roles and responsibilities of the chief judge in a speech contest, and remind you again that on, coming up on February 12th is Education Enrichment Night. So that will occur, and there will be an announcement in the upcoming February newsletter. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. I want to wish you a happy MLK Day. Hopefully we'll have some time for reflection on what that means to all of us. And I guess we will see you tomorrow. Phyllis, any final things you'd like to say to our audience?
Please join us. It's a fun subject everyone should know about.
It really is. It's great, and it's very informative. And I think that it's something that all of us do need to have some information about, especially as our Toastmasters journey, we delve more into leadership, because certainly being a chief judge in a contest is a leadership role, and we all want to make sure we do it well. So thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bye-bye.
Bye.